Oh gosh, I'm gonna offend some folks with this one. It's no secret that every fandom has its subgroup of people who take it upon themselves to get angry at anything, even fans in the Amazing Digital Circus. And no, I'm not gonna talk about how Gooseworks was harassed on Reddit recently concerning Pomni and Jax being the main characters of her own show. Well, I did just talk about it, but that's not what this video is about. Today, I'd like to share with you all my personal ranking of the Amazing Digital Circus characters, who I think is the best and the worst. You can go to this timestamp to skip the rules I put in place for this ranking, and skip to this timestamp to see my favorite. There are a few quick rules I wanted to follow to keep this all on track. 1. The characters have to be seen in person on the show. No abstracted characters. Even Kaufmo. I know we technically see him in his abstracted form, but if it ain't his circus form, it doesn't count on my list. 2. They have to have a speaking role. No background characters or gloinks. Sorry cuties, I love ya, but you don't count. And before anyone asks, none of the main cast are in my lower ranks. All of them placed 1st to 7th favorite. So, from my least to most favorite, let's go. Max and Chad, Princess Lulu, the Fudge, Ghostly, and the freaking Gaither Pond fishes. Sorry, but these guys have no real relevance to their episodes, so they are tied for dead last. As for character design, Max and Chad are cool, but I've got a soft spot for cute gummy characters anyway. The princess is a typical candy princess. The Fudge is the smooth. Ghostly is a ghost. I mean, I guess I kinda like the fish. But that's because I feel like they're poking fun at Gaither's Pond, a very old Christian animated show. But hey, the best Christian animated show of all time is VeggieTales, and no one can take that away from me. But if you want some good CG nightmare fuel, Gaither Pond is your best bet. Nothing too interesting about any of these characters, so moving on. Sun and the Gloink Queen have tied for this coveted spot. Yeah, I don't like either of these characters. They're quite obnoxious and not very funny. But since they serve a purpose and keep the plot moving forward, for the most part, Sun tends to derail scenes quite a bit. I've kept them out of the dead last category. At least the Gloink Queen had a cool design and feels a bit nostalgic to me. The Gloinks were like the fridge magnets I played with as a kid, and her being a pencil pouch kind of thing was interesting. You see my point. Ming was made for a simple throwaway joke. But I hear everyone saying that was the point, Squeaks. It was a fourth wall breaking gag. And I tend to love those kind of jokes. For heaven's sake, my favorite show of all time, Phineas and Ferb, is 80% fourth wall jokes. But other than that joke, Ming was kinda pointless. And with fourth wall jokes, if they don't make me burst out laughing, then it's just awkward. And Ming was awkward. I'm a sucker for fun sound design, and Orbs Man, both his typical and evil form, tickle my ears like ASMR. Does he do anything to keep the plot moving? No. Is he valuable to the overall storyline? No. But this is my list, and I'll rank it how I want. Orbs Man, for whatever deranged reason my brain concocted, is fun, and I like him. His design, the jokes surrounding him, that he's hard to understand, all make me smile. He reminds me of this guy.
If he was a wee bit closer, I could lob a caber at him, Caine.
And if you know me personally, you know that I love Scotland. Anything that reminds me of it, even the most obscure things only my brain would connect, is awesome. Sorry, Gooseworks. Bubble didn't make it far up my list. I know she voices Bubble personally, and the voice is perfect for the design, but I'm not the first to compare the design to the Chain Chomps in Mario either. As far as the story goes, however, Bubble is fascinating. A few of his lines make me chuckle, his weirdness is oddly amusing, and his overall lack of awareness makes him a kind of mysterious force in the Amazing Digital Circus world. Is he really naive and ignorant of what's going on? An AI assistant with no consciousness? Or Is he the real evil mastermind behind everything? If it turns out that he is, in fact, the driving force behind the circus and not Caine, that'd be a twist M. Night Shyamalan would be envious of. Oh my gosh. Moon's voice is so soothing. Honestly, Gooseworks, I'd love to have an audiobook with Moon's voice reading it. I don't even care which book. It could be the Necronomicon and I'd still be able to be lulled to sleep. Yeah, maybe not the Necronomicon. Goodnight Moon would be the better choice. Sorry. Moon is like a sip of hot chocolate during the ice-apocalypse. She's Sister Julienne in Call the Midwife whenever a traumatized mother-to-be needs soothing. She's the sigh of relief and a sign that we, the audience, can relax for a moment and enjoy some good character development. She's our safe space. Martha Mildenhall wasn't around for very long, but she made an impression. Funny lines, a cute design, and another version of a sigh of relief in an otherwise tense situation. Cutting back to story B in that episode while Kinger and Pomni were getting chased and or possessed is one of my favorite writing tropes. To leave a few characters in dangerous scenes screaming and running, to then instantly cut to a tea party or other low-stake environments. Kinda like this. Never fails to get a laugh out of me. Another instance of comic relief is the disappearing guy. Unlike Ming, this dude is actually hilarious. And Gooseworks followed the writing rule of 3 with him. The rule of 3 suggests that a trio of events or characters creates a more satisfying, memorable, or humorous pattern. That was exactly the case with Disappearing Guy. And I could think of no better character to interrupt Jax's mental breakdown than him. I blame my mother for me liking this character. Yeah, my mom. She's the sole reason why I love horror movies. When I was little, she'd show my brothers and I old black and white monster movies. While we were distracted, she'd sneak into the basement, put on a Creature from the Black Lagoon mask, army crawl down the hallway, get behind the couch we were sitting on, wait for the monster to appear on screen, and jump scare us. But she's desensitized me now. Her reign of making me scream with stupid YouTube jump scare videos like this one is long over. Now I'm the one who jump scares. I'm the one who tortures my Christian small group with scary movies like my all-time favorite Pan's Labyrinth. Is that something to be proud of? Either way, I love the Angel. Its design is awesome, and its sound design is awesome. I love me a good monster. Tim Alexander did a phenomenal job voicing Baron Theodore Mildenhall. Normally in horror games, whenever a voice actor has to ramble on with 3 paragraphs of dialogue, I tune them out. It's just an exposition dump to push the overcomplicated story along. But with Theodore, I couldn't help but listen. Tim Alexander's voice latched onto me much like Gooseworks did with Moon, and I had to catch every syllable. While his storyline was episode-specific and doesn't mean a thing to the overarching plot, I feel like I was with Pomni and Kinger in their little escape room and having a blast. They weren't having a blast, but I would have. Okay, the Amazing Digital Circus voice actors were having too much fun with the evil big tops. I could envision them squealing in delight the second they recorded a line. Especially Amanda Hufford. I mean, listen to this.
I'm Evil Ragamuffin!
I wish we'd had an evil Gangle, but the point of her not having one was to make the poor gal feel even more depressed in the circus. But like many people have told me, if you look like you're having fun on stage, then the audience will have fun too. And that's what the voice actors did with these guys. Made them so much fun. It took me a while to realize why Glitch said that episode 7 would divide the fandom. At first I thought it was because of Jax's actions, and there'd be one camp defending him and the other accusing him. Then it hit me. Episode 7 took us in one big freaking circle. And I loved it. It's the creators dangling a string to us pathetic audience members, giving us a hope of an escape for the characters we love, and then yanking it back with Caine's stupid, smug face. Gosh, I love it so much. And Abel was a great addition to that. The theories, the hours debating who the mannequin was delightful for me to watch. And now, there will be even more theories. Could Abel have been a player all along and just controlled by Caine? What was with the hot dog picture and that pendant? Will we ever get any answers? This is the string I'm talking about, and hopefully Gooseworks will be a little merciful and just let us touch the end of it. I'm a sucker for Scotsmen. I'm a sucker for Australians. Jack Hawkins' voice is just outstanding. And I'm glad they got a real Australian man to voice an Australian character. There's no room for anyone to nitpick the accent and accuse them of phoning it in. Plus, I really adored all of Gummy-Goo's scenes. His cutesy NPC moments of unworried bliss, so wrapped up in his own pre-programmed storyline of helping his mother, and his world-shattering existential crisis. All of it was pure gold. And I'm glad he wasn't only sticking around for his one episode. He came back and gave Pomni this look. Is he still self-aware? Is he scared of getting turned into confetti again? Does he even remember that? Oh, please say that's the case. More angst, please. And that concludes all secondary characters. Now we get into the meat. The 7 lead characters that carry the Amazing Digital Circus universe. Who's my least favorite in the main group, huh? And who do I think is the best? Hold on. I need to mentally prepare myself for the angry comments that'll be flung at me after this. I'd ask you to please remember that this is only my opinion and should not affect the way you enjoy the show. But this is the internet. There'll be somebody out there who's very upset with me in my ranking. Who am I kidding? They're probably upset already. So, let's go. Out of all the Amazing Digital Circus characters, Zooble is my least favorite. Their dry sarcasm is a welcomed addition to the otherwise chaotic world, but other than that, I simply find Zooble uninteresting. We don't know a whole lot about them other than past jobs and their identity crisis, which is cool, being represented as spare parts they can add or subtract from their body. Zooble is a good anchor for Gangle, and I love seeing them help her through her insecurities. But I think my biggest issue with Zooble is their pouting side. Refusing to go on adventures, choosing to sit and do nothing, and constantly complaining puts a dampener on my opinion of them. But without a character like that, the group would just be a bunch of mentally tortured crying breakdowns, so coming home to Zooble to decompress could be a positive thing. If they show up for Gangle, I'd hope they'd show up for the others too. Not Jax, though that much is obvious. Ragatha gets way too much hate. Yeah, she's a people pleaser, and that can be very annoying, especially when she tries to play it cool and instead fumbles into a stuttering mess, but she has a good heart. She's the only one considering the emotional side of what the circus is doing to people, which is why I think it's interesting that Jax targets her the most. She's the one he can get the best reaction out of because of her bleeding heart. Gangle will either cry or shut down, Zooble ignores him, Pomni is too new to form an opinion on, and Kinger is just crazy. It's always fun for bullies to target the most vulnerable, emotional people, after all. If I had to predict who from the main cast will abstract before the show is over, I'd guess Ragatha. She's so focused on protecting the others that she sometimes can't control her outbursts. Then again, abstraction may be less of an emotional or mental breakdown and instead be caused by Caine. I didn't think I'd like the Gangle-centered episode when it was first announced. At first, Gangle seemed a bit too whiny to me, too delicate in every sense of the word. But then her episode was released and my entire outlook on her changed. While I don't suffer from depression or bipolar disorder personally, I could see the real-world connection between Gangle and those forms of mental illness. And her putting on different masks was pretty on the nose for hiding who she really was. The sad mask. The plastic one she used in the restaurant was a great metaphor for who she wanted to be, but like plastic, it too was synthetic. And when Jax said,
I like you better when you're sad.
Even I was taken aback. She was trying so hard to be a good boss, but a person she clearly wants respect from prefers her depression, which she tries so hard to hide. That one episode bumped her from last place in the main cast to 5th. Not a huge jump, but I didn't expect I'd ever really like her. But all it takes for me to enjoy a character is to make them interesting. And while I don't relate to her struggles, I love seeing her confront them. And of course, she'd be a weeaboo. That didn't shock me in the slightest. Finally, someone calls Jax on his crap and doesn't back down. Pomni isn't super complex, but I think that's by design. She's the audience's perspective, the self-insert, the fresh eyes in the circus that we follow around to learn the universe. Sure, with each new episode we learn more about her, but we're not really sure on her struggles yet or what her insecurities are. Other than anxiety, but all of us would be freaking out in this VR world that we couldn't escape. As for her design, I love it. Jesters have always had a special place in my heart, ever since.
I'm Giacomo, my fame before me rings, the king of jesters and jester of a king.
I love the history of jesters and their outfits. Plus, the circus needed another clown. Can't have a circus without a clown. R.I.P. Kaufmo. If I had to pick my favorite Pomni moments, it'd be her time with Kinger and her time with Jax. The healing side and the nihilistic side. Both integral to the story and needed for character development. But come on, the best scene is clearly...
Hey, what are you doing?
Jax said something that would have devastated any of the other characters. And instead of shutting down like he expected she would, she confronted him. Both Lizzie Freeman and Michael Kovach acted their hearts out in that scene. And think about it. These are actors who are completely alone in their recording studios who need to get that emotion out with absolutely nothing to go off of. No other actors, no physical sets, just their scripts and imagination. And they were able to get this scene down perfectly. That shows immense talent. A story is only as good as its antagonist, and Caine is phenomenal. From his creepy design to Alex Rochan's goofy yet beyond unsettling voice performance, make him memorable and easy to identify. What I mean by that is the silhouette test that some animators do to ensure their characters are identifiable even in silhouette. Yeah, there'd be no mistaking Caine. He is the embodiment of the mystery surrounding the circus. His scatterbrained persona seems to me like a cover for what he really is. Even though he claims to be AI, programmed to keep the circus inhabitants mentally stimulated, there's a possibility that he's also coded with malware. Hence his glitch and angry outbursts whenever a character doesn't want to partake in an adventure. It adds more evidence to the theory that, should he get angry enough, he can make anybody abstract at any time. Perhaps those who get too close to finding a way out, therefore making him obsolete. Let's consider the facts. Whenever AI is in a movie or TV show, they are never the good guy. Well, okay, Data was, but he was programmed to learn from humanity and viewed them as superior to him. World domination was never Data's goal. But Caine, what if he learned about the internet? What if he got his hands outside the circus and could spread havoc to every computer in the world? Would we think of him as a goofy ringmaster then? But how does one defeat AI? How will the circus inhabitants get out of the claws of a program built to trap their minds? And if they do destroy him, what happens to said minds? I won't keep anyone in suspense. Jax is my second favorite character. Which means you know who number 1 is, but I digress. I love Jax for the same reason I love Swiper in Dora the Explorer. He provides conflict. Without him, it'd be a bunch of morally just characters we can all root for trying to escape. Not a bad story, but without conflict, it'd be boring. And while a good chunk of the fandom has less than positive things to say about Jax, with each episode, he only gets better to me. I'll admit, I was rooting for him to hit the red button at the end of episode 7. Those weird flashes he had to a country road and his hyperventilating were reason enough to stay in the circus? To condemn the others to stay stuck with him? Granted, it all turned out to be a ruse, but he didn't know that for sure in the moment. He had a chance to free himself and his fellow prisoners, and he took that away from them. I want to know what was so vicious about that memory that told Jax he couldn't leave. Caine may or may not have had a part in pushing those memories on him, but there was no convincing Jax to stay. That was all Jax. What are you hiding, buddy? Please, oh please, Gooseworks, don't leave it up to interpretation. There are so many stories nowadays that leave so many questions unanswered, and oh, you're meant to decide for yourself what to blah blah blah. Ugh. Just pick an ending to the story. Give us an answer, please. Kinger's my favorite. Yep, it's true. He's the best. He's the glue holding everything together, and probably the reason the circus exists in the first place. As of now, I've only made one true fan animatic of the Amazing Digital Circus that didn't involve crossovers with other fandoms. Check it out here if you're interested. It really doesn't have that many views. I think you guys would like it if you like the reel that I made that's gone viral. But the main focus is Kinger and how I headcanon the ending of the show. I just have a gut feeling that someone will have to be sacrificed in order for the others to make it out. And who would lay down their life to do that? Kinger. Sean Chiplock gives Kinger an adorable, silly voice that can also be quite calm and compassionate. Every time another character spends any time with him, in a room that mimics the lighting of his safe little pillow cave, he always brings them out of their funk or protects them like a dad should. He may be a king piece, but he's the group's gallant knight. The symbol of hope that no one has realized yet, except perhaps Ragatha. After all, she was the only one to see Kinger generate a butterfly out of thin air that healed her. I can almost guarantee that Kinger will be the key to their release. And since his mind is slowly returning to him as seen in the harsh light of the control room, it won't be long before Caine sees him as the ultimate threat. Will the show go that dark and kill off one of their main cast? I hope so, but that's the angsty me. And thus concludes my controversial ranking of the Amazing Digital Circus characters. I hope I made a lot of you angry with my opinions and look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments below. Okay, in all seriousness, this show is a good one. Not perfect, but no show is. I'm just glad an interesting, original story is getting the limelight after years of big studio companies giving us nothing but rehashes and boring plots. And I am so looking forward to episode 8 being released on March 20th. But Team Kinger, forever, baby.